Have you ever noticed that some leaders become less human the more senior they get? Not less intelligent, not less capable. Sometimes even the opposite. They become sharper, faster, more politically aware, more controlled, but also harder, less patient, less open, less rational, harder to reach. And here's the question I want to explore with you today. Is that just what senior leadership does to people, or is it something deeper happening underneath the surface? Because by the end of this video, I want to show you that the hardening is often not a sign of strength at all. It's a sign of adaptation. And if leaders don't understand it, it slowly reduces the very capacity they most need at the top. Hi, I'm Pietro Pazzi. I'm a depth leadership coach. I work with senior executives who want to transform their leadership from the inside out, addressing the whole person, not just performance. In this video, we're going to unpack why some executives become harder as they become more senior. We look at what pressure does to the inner world of a leader, how politics changes behavior, why repeated exposure to conflict can make someone more defended, and what this costs them over time. And right near the end, I'll share a vital point that changes the whole conversation. The issue usually isn't just behavior, it's the leader's inner operating system. Most executives do not decide to become harder. Usually they adapt. The higher you go, the more ambiguity you carry, more scrutiny, more consequence, more people projecting into you, more decisions with no perfect answer, more pressure to look certain, even when the ground is moving underneath you. So, a leader who once felt open and relational can start operating from protection instead. They become more guarded with emotion, more cautious with trust, more controlling with decisions, less available for genuine conversations. That does not always happen because they have become arrogant. Quite often, it happens because the system has learned that softness feels risky. And research backs part of this up. In one 2022 study, employers rated leaders as showing less positive leadership under stress and more abusive behavior in stressful periods than in routine conditions. In other words, pressure doesn't just affect how leaders feel, it changes how they are experienced by others. That matters because a leader can feel like they are simply holding the line while the team experiences them as tense, unpredictable, or hard. I mean the constant navigation of status, perception, alliances, competing interests, and hidden agendas. A leader can go into senior life with good intent and still learn over time that openness gets used against them. Honesty gets punished and hesitation gets interpreted as weakness. So they adapt again. They speak more carefully, reveal less, trust less quickly. They stop saying what they really think until they know where the landmines are. On the outside, this can look like maturity. On the inside, it can slowly become emotional armoring. Research on organizational politics has found that higher perceptions of politics are associated with greater employee stress and lower engagement. Now that matters at senior level because executives are not standing outside that atmosphere. They are inside it every day, breathing it in. And when a leader lives inside enough politics for long enough, relational presence often gets replaced by strategic self-protection. Then there's conflict. And at senior level, conflict is rarely clean. It can be prolonged, coded, repetitive, and emotionally expensive. You can have the same battle in 10 different ways: resistance, challenges, passive aggressive, undermining, silence, blame. And after enough of that, some leaders stop meeting each moment freshly. They start anticipating threat even before it arrives. And this is where hardening deepens. Curiosity gets replaced by certainty. Dialogues get replaced by position talking. Listening becomes scanning. Relationships become transactional. The leader may still be functioning well. They may even be admired for being tough. But toughness is not the same as range. And leadership needs range. It needs firmness and openness, boundaries and warmth, clear will and human contact. One of the core ideas in psychosynthesis leadership coaching is that development is about the whole person and not just the outward role. When self-awareness drops and defensiveness rises, leaders become more reactive, more identified with a role, and less able to see what is happening in them and around them. That is where leadership starts to narrow. This is the part many executives miss. Hardening can help you survive, at least for a while, but it usually comes with a hidden cost. You lose relational intelligence. People stop bringing you the truth. You lose perspective. Everything starts to feel urgent and personal. You lose flexibility. Your responses become more patterned, less free. And very often you lose support because once you become the strong one all the time, you forget how to ask for help. Now, this is why the 5 dimensions of leadership matter so much here. A leader needs self-reflection, awareness of their impact on others, systems thinking, a will to make right decisions and actions, and the ability to seek support. When one or two of those dimensions become overused while others weaken, leaders can become unbalanced. For example, strong in force, but weak in contact. And that brings me to the vital point I promised earlier. A hard leader is not always a bad leader, but a hardening leader is often a leader whose inner system has lost access to balance. This is a developmental issue, not just a behavioral one. Depth coaching helps because it does not stop at surface behavior. It helps a leader see what has happened to them, what patterns got built under the pressure, what part of me takes over in politics, what happens in my body before I shut down, tighten up, or move into control. What impact am I having now that I'm no longer fully seeing? That kind of coaching brings leaders back to what Auburn Howard calls working with a whole person, not just performance, but mind, heart, will, relationship, and the gap between who the leader is being now and what is emerging within them. It can include deeper reflection, work with subpersonalities, disidentification from hardened roles, identification with a center of consciousness, and practices that rebuild right relations with one's true self and with others. It helps leaders recover choice. And that is the real goal. Not making senior leaders softer in some vague or sentimental sense, making them freer, freer to stay human under pressure, freer to stay open without becoming naive, freer to stand firm without becoming hard. That is a very different kind of strength. So, why do some executives become harder as they become more senior? Because pressure, politics, And repeated conflict can slowly train the personality to protect itself. But what looks like authority may actually be adaptation. And when leaders understand that, they can begin to reclaim something essential: self-awareness, relational presence, and the inner freedom to lead without armoring against everyone around them. If this speaks to you where you are at right now, explore my leadership depth coaching at pietropazzi.com and book a 30-minute complimentary exploratory chat on my website or in the link in the description below. And thank you, genuinely thank you, for spending this time with me.